Hello, welcome back. I don't really remember what I'm supposed to say here, but
Sounds good to me.
it's been a while. Long time no see. Welcome back to Take the Money and Run, bonus episodes of our podcast where we chat about this story that we love so much by This Apple Pie Life. How's it going, Stacey?
Oh, it's going. I've been dying to record another episode of this because, as we know, this is one of our all-time favorite steady. There we go. Stories. So we're getting our steady on.
Yeah, well, that's our favorite thing to do.
hmm
So, we are going to be talking today about chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
Do you know the title of the chapter?
Ozark Mountain Jubilee.
Yeah,
That is one hell of a name.
it was. That was a fun song too. Like, you listened to the podfic, right?
hmm
So, I had a fun time, like, choosing, like, the clips from it to
Yeah.
use for the podfic chapter. I don't even know. Hold on, I had it pulled up so we could say who the artist of that song is.
It definitely sounded familiar.
The Oak Ridge Boys,
Okay.
but I really don't know anything about the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah,
Do
no
you?
idea. Like I said, it sounded familiar. Like, probably I definitely heard it on the radio before, but that's the extent.
So I tried to do, like, a little bit of research here for this episode because I was so interested in, like, the places that they
Mhm.
go. It looks like they're having a farewell tour.
Oh, okay. We're gonna be like, "You were mentioned in one of our best fan fictions. You go, boys."
Yeah, they're really old now, but they're touring still.
Bless their hearts.
And it says they're a country and gospel vocal quartet from Tennessee. They were founded in 1943 and became
Okay.
popular in Southern gospel during the 1950s. So I don't
Oh,
really know
okay.
much about gospel music. My parents used to listen to country music a lot when I was
Mhm.
growing up, and one of the country stations would play, like, some country gospel on, like, Sunday mornings, but, like, that
Yeah.
was the extent of, like, my gospel listening.
I can't say besides maybe movies, I haven't really heard gospel music. I
Yeah.
mean, country, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, like, that's kinda what I was exposed to, but, no, definitely some of it slaps, and it kinda goes along with what the boys would be listening to at this time, and, they're going all over the country, so definitely different stations play different things, but they've been playing different tapes, and then you gotta remember probably some of it is coming from what Steve grew up listening to, and then with Eddie with Wayne, and that kinda, like, I don't know, that calls back to Wayne a little bit, like, you would think that's something probably he would have listened to, you know?
Yeah, it gave me Wayne vibes for sure, but the song is so good, like, I was like,
Mm.
"I would listen to this song."
It
Yeah.
slaps, as the kids say.
Yeah, it was really good, and this is, like, the beginning of the chapter, so the song is basically describing that place that they go to at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
So, with the Ozark Mountain Jubilee, with the Frisco Silver Dollar Line, that's like a ride at that amusement park that they were at. So, the song is, like, singing about that amusement park.
Isn't that crazy, the tourist traps that they
Yeah.
just have out there? Like, that sounds like I don't know if you have a lot of tourist traps near you. We mostly have up in New Hampshire, like, we have a place called Santa's Village, use your imagination. Silver City, I don't know, Six Gun City or something. It's little tourist traps like that, but I feel like in the Midwest, they would have more of those kinda, like, gimmicky kind of places. And what kind of place do they visit first? Could you describe it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the place where the song was singing about. So
Mhm.
I I looked it up and it still exists and it's called Silver Dollar City. So that's the brochure that Eddie finds in the truck stop.
Yeah.
And they go there and it seems like kind of like a big deal, like when I was looking it
Mm.
up. Like, I do agree that there's like gimmicky tourist traps, but like, I don't know, this kind of looks like iconic, like
So that'd be
because
fun.
yeah, it had so many different, I mean, maybe it was a little bit smaller back in the '80s, but it's in
Mhm.
Branson, Missouri, and I
Hmm.
have never been to Branson, Missouri. It's in
No.
the Ozark Mountains, and it's a huge, like, tourist area. Like, there's
Yeah.
tons of touristy stuff around there, I do know that. I think it seems like an interesting area with an interesting, like, history. I've been in Missouri, but I've been, like, further north in Missouri,
Yeah.
like, driving across, like, through Missouri over to Kansas City, which is actually mostly in Missouri, and then through Kansas into Colorado, so I've done, like, that drive, but I have not been further south in Missouri where they go, and
Yeah.
it's closer to, like, Arkansas, which I have not been to Arkansas,
Mhm.
so I think that, like, yeah, that kinda gave me, like, Wayne vibes for sure too. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people feel like he, like, came from, like, further south or something, like, he gives off
Especially
those
with
vibes.
his accent and then, like, I don't know, maybe all the mugs and the hats in the trailer. Like, yeah, you could make up your own story about whatever they mean, but they do look kind of like souvenirs that you would get these kinds of places. And Eddie getting all the brochures. I don't know if you ever saw the John Travolta movie Michael, where he's the angel.
Oh,
It's so stupid.
no. I've heard
It's so stupid.
maybe. Yeah.
It's got William Hurt in it and Andy McDowell, but he literally wants to visit all the tourist traps, like the biggest ball of yarn and stuff. But I kind of like that Eddie grabs all these brochures and Steve is kind of like loosening up a little bit and he's joining in on the fun. And I like that he's like noticing for the first time ever how fascinated Eddie is with everything, that he watches how certain things are made and he seems to be having a ton of fun and he's taking it all in. And it's kind of making him yet again reassess, like, huh, Eddie's actually really smart and intrigued by this kind of stuff. It's not just a gimmicky tourist trap, like we said, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it reminded me, so obviously I haven't been here, but he was watching, I guess, like, crafts people, like, doing things the way they would have done a long time ago. So that did give me, like, vibes of, like, Williamsburg, Virginia, and,
Yes. Yep.
um, and, like, there's also, like, Jamestown and Yorktown are other, like, little, like,
Hmm.
settlements where they still kind of, like, show you what things used to be like then,
Yeah.
like, in, like,
Like
that's, like,
churning butter.
colonial times, yeah, which I so I
Yeah.
have been to those places, and then
Oh, yeah.
there's also this, it's near Ocean City, Maryland, which is, like, the beach, but there's
Mhm.
this little, like, campground and tiny little kind of amusement park type thing called Frontier Town, and
Oh, shit.
it it reminded me of that because of the train ride. Like, the train in this
Oh,
place seems way bigger, but
yeah.
at Frontier Town, they also would do, like, the train robbery thing, which Steve was saying that Eddie was so into the train
Oh,
robbery,
and so, yep.
and when I was just doing some quick research before we started recording, apparently, they first started doing the train robbery because the steam engine that they had couldn't get all the way around the park without, like, running out of
Can't.
steam and have to, like, recharge or whatever it is. So they had to do the train robbery to, like, give it a break, like,
Damn.
so I thought that was hilarious. But
That's
I remember,
amazing.
like, being a kid, like, on this train and, like, they would, like, stop the train and, like, rob it, and one time we were in, like, the car where the gold was hidden.
I can't. I'd be having an anxiety attack. I would not be having fun. I'd be like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. So that was really funny. But then they also went on rides, like, apparently there's, like, roller coasters. I think there's more roller coasters there now than there probably was in the '80s. But they
Mhm.
did mention going on a roller coaster, so that whole aspect of the amusement park was giving me, like, Hershey Park vibes, which I love Hershey
Yes.
Park, which is in
Yep.
Pennsylvania. But they went on the log flume and, like, the river tube ride.
Which kills me.
I love those
Just
things.
imagine those 2 dudes on those rides. Like, we grew up on rides like
Yes.
that. They're fun. You're gonna get soaked, and I love how there's that moment where, Steve's like, I'm glad I brought other shoes because, unless you're wearing flip flops, you're going to get soaked.
Yeah.
And I love that he first notices Eddie with his classic white Reeboks, and then he sees him. And this is our first little twinge. He sees
Yes.
him change into these sexy biker boots where there is a photo included and
Yes.
yeehaw. And I love that Steve has that thought like, wow, that's kind of sexy. And then he's like, wait a second. What?
Where the fuck did that thought come from?
Yep. I'm telling you, it's the log fumes. It makes people horny, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. But it was so sweet because he was like, at first, he was like, well, if Eddie doesn't have extra shoes, we're going to go straight to the shoe store.
Oh my
Like,
god. I know, he's looking out for him. That did make me go, "Oh, Steve."
yeah.
Yep.
But then Eddie breaks out the boots and Steve's
Breaks
like,
out the boot.
mm.
I love that he notices they're not the boots from, the war zone either. He's like, "They're not the lace-up ones, they're biker boots." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Hell yeah, they are." Like, oh, you still my heart.
they were hot. They were hot. So I did put like a little, camera click to show that
Mhm.
they have a photo in the fic. So you should definitely check that out.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But then there was like more fun. And I
Yeah.
love the part where Eddie was like, "Steve is fun." Like, they're
Yep.
finally sort of, like, letting their guard down a little bit more and having fun together, and I love how much, like, fun that they had in this chapter. Before they went to the next place was when they had the conversation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I
Which
that's
I liked because
yes, there was a
you
good
kind of peel 'em back
balance.
more.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a good balance. There was these, like, fun, joyful places, and then in
Mhm.
between was that, like, deep conversation that they had,
Yeah.
which I thought was really emotional, and I, like, cried when I was listening to myself read it this morning.
I gotta tell you, like, first of all, you read it with such great emotion, but I think the part that really pulls on my heartstrings is Steve talking about his nanny and how one day he showed up and she was no longer there. And he even says, well, if she was just pretending to love me, like she was doing a damn good job at it. And Eddie is just like, he feels terrible because, he kind of thought Steve lived this rich, privileged life and really he was abandoned, and then you go into Eddie's stuff and it's just as traumatic, that his mom died, which we find out is canon, and his dad was too much of a mess up, and then he was in the system for a while, which really makes Steve go like, "Holy shit." And he just keeps saying like how much he appreciates Wayne. And I like that it went along with something that took me months to notice that the trailer only has one bedroom. And there is a cot, a fold-out cot, and you can see it in the scene with Chrissy and all the scenes in the living room. And he goes, "Yep, Wayne thought I was a growing teenage boy. I deserved my own bedroom." And then he refused to take it back. And it just goes to show you like how much Wayne is sacrificed to like have Eddie and just was like, nope, your main priority is graduating, and how much he loves him. So he really made a home for him in that little cozy trailer.
Yeah, that whole conversation was super emotional, and I thought that the details about Eddie being in foster care for, like, over a
Mhm.
year while Wayne fought to, like, get
Yep.
him was, like, very emotional, and I could definitely see that being kind of, like, accurate for Eddie and being
Yeah.
part of especially who he is in this fic.
Mhm.
And then him being so, like, angry about what happened to Steve and, like,
Yeah.
thinking that Steve's story is actually worse than his, and Steve doesn't
Yep.
even realize, like and the part about how his mom Eddie's mom loved him, Eddie's dad loves
Mhm.
him, Uncle Wayne loves him, like and he says, "Who loves Steve?"
Oh my
That
god,
was the
that
part
killed me.
that, like, got me.
And just the fact that, like, Steve knows he's an accident, like, that's borderline a little horrific. I mean, a lot of us know we're oops, but just the fact that he was like, I didn't really fit into my parents' narrative of their lives. My mom wasn't gonna stay home and be a housewife, and my dad was always disappointed with me. So like you said, who loves Steve? And you gotta think, well, his friends do. So thank God for them.
Yeah, exactly, but I agree with Eddie, he's like he needs, like, a full-grown adult to
Mhm.
love him, like, to make him feel, you know, safe in this world, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was really deep and I think really important for, like, the fic as a whole because they're they're getting deeper with each other. They're letting down their, like, walls and having more
Yeah.
fun, but they're also starting to get into these deeper conversations and share more emotional things with each other. So, it's really cool to see them opening up.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think, like, also, like, they're no longer in flight or fight mode, so they're able to, A, kinda act their own age and just be like 2 dudes having fun, and then at the same time, they're confined into this beamer. They're going for long, long drives, so of course they're gonna talk and make conversation, and I do like that afterwards they go to, like, that sports park where they ride go-karts, and he
Yeah.
realizes how competitive Steve is.
Yeah,
Kills me.
loved that part too. He's like, "Steve is so competitive." They did, mini golf, I think, and
Oh my god.
go-karts and bowling, and while they're bowling, Eddie sends Steve to the cigarette machine, which, I mean,
I
have
love
you ever seen one of those in real life?
Years ago, actually
Okay.
at a bowling alley, so that
Okay.
tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2. I think there's still one at, like, a couple bars in Ocean City. There's this
Mhm.
bar in Ocean City called the Cork Bar, and if anybody's been there, it's, like, just right off the boardwalk, and my
Yeah,
parents used to love to tell me that that was, like, my first bar because they took me there when I was, like, a baby.
parents rule.
So, it's, like, really old school, like, has pool tables, and there's definitely one of those old-time cigarette machines still there.
That's awesome.
But he doesn't even tell Steve, like, what kind he smokes, and Steve comes back and, like, he's like, "Oh, they didn't have Camels, I got you Marlboro Reds," like, and he's like, "Oh, I guess he does know." Like, just them
Something
noticing.
as subtle as that, I
Yeah.
just love it. And he's kinda like, "Oh, he's picking up on this kinda stuff," which is just so, so sweet.
Yeah, and then, the only game that Eddie wins is darts. So he
Which tracks.
yeah, he's like, "Oh, all that time, hanging out at the hideout finally did me some good."
Kills me, absolutely kills me. And I like that this is the part that killed me when they go to the restaurant, and I was getting, I don't know about you, kinda like Golden Corral vibes from it, and I loved that he ordered meatloaf.
I know, that's hilarious. I had to look up this restaurant too because, we, like, have a Golden Corral by me, and my husband, like,
Mhm.
loves Golden Corral. So,
I love
like,
that.
I mean, we don't go that often, but it's a
Mhm.
decent salad bar, like, buffet,
Yeah.
but, I was like, "What are they doing here?" Because they were throwing rolls. I was like, "What do you mean by throwed rolls?" Like, but
Yeah.
apparently the history of it is that, like, they were bringing the rolls around to tables, and it was really busy, so somebody was just like, "Just throw the damn thing," and so it
Tossing
just
them.
stuck. Yeah, like, they just toss the rolls to you, and I was like, "What the hell are pass-arounds?" So I had to look that up too, because Steve was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, the pass-arounds didn't sound very good." So apparently the pass-arounds are like the waiters in this place just walk around with big, like, containers of different foods and will just give you as much as you want. Like, so it's not a buffet, but it's like you can have as much as you want and they just plop it on the table, I guess. Like,
That's Golden Corral on the go vibes, like,
yes.
Jesus. Man,
Exactly.
oh
So
man.
I was like and I looked at some pictures and it looks like really old school, even though apparently the one that is in Sikeston is like the 4th building to be there, and they have multiple locations now too. So that's your history
That's
lesson
awesome.
on Lambert.
Amber's, that kills me. It just right away, as soon as I like he was talking about him getting the meatloaf and stuff like that, I was dying because when I went out to Pennsylvania for my like to go to college, my sister went with me and her husband, and we found some nasty ass restaurant. I won't say the name. It's like picture a Denny's but worse. So we went there, and my sister, who usually like eats at nice establishments, she was like, "This place is fucking great." She goes, "Tuesday's meatloaf night. We're coming back tomorrow." Me and her husband were just staring horrified. And then like the dessert had this thing where it was like 28 brownies. It was called the Angry Mound. And Alexis was like, fuck yeah, we should eat it. And I'm like, are you stoned? Like, this is disgusting. So it's funny to go to those little like places that are really known, but I have gone to Golden Corral and I was a starving college student. And I just remember I was like, oh my God, there's a fountain of cheese. Like, I have found my people. So it's funny that Steve was a little like, what the fuck is this? But Eddie, he
He
liked that
was
good old
down.
country
He was
eating. He's
down for
down
it.
for it, man. I can relate, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that was definitely funny. And like you said, it's very like classic, like road trip type,
Mhm.
like, yeah, diner vibes. So yeah. And then the very last part that got me, how did the line go? He was like,
He's pretty sure he's being trained to tolerate all manners of foolishness just to make Eddie happy.
he's
He's not
not
really
really
that
that
upset
upset
about it.
about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I said, just little twinges. And you're like, this is the epitome, guys, of a wonderful slow burn.
Yeah.
Is and of course we read it, we know what's going to happen, but we're just like, this is building up beautifully. And I don't know about you, and I love that you're doing the research for all these places. I am a ham when it comes to tourist traps and places that are still existing. And I think it's so cool that this author was able to write places that existed in 1986
Yeah,
that
and
were popular.
it's cool that they still do too, because I love that there's those kind of places. What's your
Mhm.
favorite, like, what are some of your favorite tourist traps that you've been to?
This isn't exactly a tourist trap, but I think everyone will appreciate this story. I was on my way to a horror hunt, which is a horror convention, with my friend Jeanette, and there was a gas station in the middle of Ohio. So I went in first. It was a one-room bathroom, and there was a freaking like a scale that if you put in a dollar, 4 quarters, you would get your fortune right. It would spit out your fortune. So I'm being, and I go, kind of idiot would freaking do that. So I finish my business. I go into the car. Jeanette goes next. She's taking a while. She comes
Oh,
back.
she totally did it.
She totally did it. She came back and she goes, you know, it's really fucking awesome. And I go, what? She goes, when you stand on the toilet scale, one of your fortune, and it eats 4 quarters. So you're dumb enough to put in another 4 quarters.
Oh, no. Poor
I died.
Jeanette.
I was between that, Intercourse, Pennsylvania, which memories, I was just like, really, this is the name of the place. But I'd say, like, around me at least, I really think Santa's Village is just a hoot. There's Santa's Village, Storybook Land, like these catchy little New Hampshire places that I went to as a kid that if you visited now, like these rides look like death traps. But, that's part of the charm. Now, where you live, there's a lot of stuff, and I know you've traveled a lot. So what are your favorite places?
What's coming to mind are some things from my road trip this summer. So there was
Mhm.
like this like giant buffalo bison, like the world's largest bison. It was a huge statue. And
That's fantastic.
yeah, that one was pretty cool, and it was a very, like, scenic area,
Mhm.
and but then there was, like, the world's largest sandhill crane. These were all in North Dakota. Like, North
Of
Dakota is
course.
the state that, like, the fewest people have been to. It was awesome.
That's
And then I
amazing.
can't remember if the cow was in North Dakota also, but was the cow was not as well done as the buffalo, and it
Damn.
was really high up on a hill, so you had to, like, drive up this hill, and then you were up, and there was just this huge cow at the top of the hill.
Just take selfies with the cow. That is
Yeah, but its
fantastic.
udders were, like, huge.
Jesus Christ, you're gonna have to share photos. Now I'm intrigued.
I think I have some pictures of the really big udders.
Oh my god. Yeah, because when you're standing, you're probably
You're,
like
like, right
eye level with the
underneath,
others.
yeah,
Jesus
yeah. Well,
Christ.
the buffalo had some interesting anatomy as well.
Oh my god. Jesus. What is I can't, I'm so thrown off right now. What is one tourist trap you would love to visit?
Oh, and before I share that, because I don't know if I have any, but there's this other place. Have you driven to Florida, like all the way?
I've flown. I've
Oh,
flown.
so when you get to South Carolina, like from North Carolina into South Carolina on 95, there's this place called South of the Border,
I've
and
heard of that.
it's it's terrible. It's like a big like sombrero and like all this like
Can't you buy like fireworks there
I
when
don't
it's like
know,
illegal?
maybe. That's like
Wink, wink.
I think you can get them in can you get them in Pennsylvania? Like, I feel like I have to, like, go to Pennsylvania to get fireworks or something like that. But it's those ones that just have, like, billboards for days and
Yeah.
days. And that was one when we were in South Dakota, there was this place called Wall Drug. So it was like Wall, like WALL, like drugstore, which was like the old, like, kind of
Oh,
general
okay.
store type thing.
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
we stayed in the town where it was, but we got there, like, after it was already closed, so we didn't really get to
Damn.
see it. But we were, like, just counting down on the billboards, like, "You're almost there." Like,
We're 12 miles away. Yep.
"Free water, free coffee." I'm like, "Free water?" Like,
Free water.
okay.
Is there a well? Like, Jesus. My
Um,
God.
I don't know. I don't know ones that I would, like, love to visit.
I always think of the giant, like, T-Rex and dinosaurs. I think they're in California from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a dinosaur nut,
I
so I'm like,
also
I'd
feel
go
like,
there.
uh Mount Rushmore was just like a tourist trap.
I mean, yeah, if you really think about it, yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
it they have like a lot of like it's like very like developed and like it's a whole like National Park Service like managed location, but like we just like drove up, parked, looked at
Looked at
it,
it.
left.
You guys literally pulled a Chevy Chase from Vacation when she's like, "Don't you wanna look at the Grand Canyon?" He's in such a hurry. He's like, "Mhm, I saw it. Alright, bye." Yeah, that was
Exactly.
you guys.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I feel like it'll come to me.
Another cow. Oh, giant chicken or something, yeah.
Yeah, apparently I just want to look at giant animals.
Ah,
Well, this was super fun.
it was.
A little leg of our road trip together.
Mhm, exactly. We're making the miles, guys, with the boys. We're
Yeah,
making the miles.
we're getting there. And we'll talk to you again soon for chapter 6, which is called Werewolves of London. So
Ooh,
stay
I
tuned.
love that song.
And I'm very
Woo!
excited for this chapter because I do remember a couple things that happen in it and it's fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's like your catchphrase.
Yep.
All right. Have a great
Alright.
day. See ya. Bye.
Over and out.
Over and out.